So as seen in last episode, we've now got a way to get more dirt with our moss and azaleas, but it's actually a lot more efficient if you have spruce instead of azaleas. So our first task today is going to be upgrading the cobblestone generator to get some more cobblestone so we can go find some spruce wood. So I upgraded the cobblestone generator so that we can now produce smooth stone instead, which will make gathering stone significantly faster. Okay, so this cobblestone generator is going to work out pretty well for us. So if we turn up our render distance and start to bridge out in this direction. And now we can cut down another cherry tree and gather up all this dirt. So seeing as we can't see anything else yet, we may as well just keep bridging out in this direction. And there we go, that didn't take too long. We can already see a spruce tree off in the distance. Well, moral of that story, never let go of the shift. Fortunately we have lots of iron, a little bit of an inconvenience, but we can just get some cobblestone again. So now we've got the spruce and snowballs collected, and we've got dark oak over in the distance. So now we can plant our first spruce tree, grab some more cobblestone, and tear down the tree. And we got 4 saplings back, and now we can plant in our dark oak tree. Continuing our tree theme, I built up the dark oak and spruce tree areas. So we now have only one elusive wood type yet to get, being the mangrove wood. So to get started on the main part of this episode, we're going to need a lot of stone, and I think I'd rather use silk touch than have to smelt it all down. So we're going to go into the nether to try and get some mother. So I've instead decided to make a spawning platform away from the blazes in the Crimson Forest near our little gold farm. Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot safer. Hang on, what? Full speed 3. So after our painfully long trip to the nether, we now have enough leather, although I didn't account for the sugarcane. So now we've got to wait around for this to grow. And in the meantime, we may as well just mine some cobblestone. So now that we finally have our lectern, let's try and get mending. And there we go. That did not take too long at all. So now we have unlimited books and mending. So now with a second lectern, we can try and get silk touch. And that didn't take very long either. And silk touch. So now we can make a diamond pick and an anvil, combine these two, and there we go. And now we can try and collect the amount of stone that we need. Huh, wandering trader. Ooh, mushrooms. Yes, please. One of your mushrooms, please, sir. Thank you. Another wandering trader. We've got lots of useful stuff. I don't know why these guys are spitting at me. I swear I didn't do anything. Back we go again. So I spent even more time gathering up as much stone as possible for this project, occasionally stopping to repair our pickaxe. And so there we go. After several hours at the cobblestone generator, we now have 3 double chests of stone ready to go. So let's get started placing all this stone in. As I already had a rough idea for the dimensions I wanted for this area, I started off by branching out and making a natural looking shape for the island. Then came the painstaking task of filling in the entire area with stone. Alright, so 90 minutes later, we now have the entire area filled in with stone. But if you thought I was going to stop there, you are sorely mistaken. No. I'm going to torture myself, turn this whole area into moss, and then we're going to plant spruce trees, turn it into podzol, and then we're going to turn it all into dirt, which will then grow into grass. So to quickly demonstrate what we're going to be doing here, first we've got the moss block, bone meal it, spread this around a little bit, get rid of everything with some water, and then we plant our spruce tree. So we go from podzol to path blocks to tilled dirt and eventually into normal dirt. So we've now just got to repeat this across the entire area. Here we are starting off by turning every piece of stone into moss. And then planting in dozens of tall spruce trees to turn it all into podzol. And finally turning it all into path blocks and then into farmland. So now everything is dirt and the only thing we have to do is clean up all the spruce. Alright, so now the stage is set for our village, and we're going to start off by making a little town square. In the center of the village, I decided to make a stone statue with a small garden area surrounding it. So now with the centerpiece of our village complete, we can get started on making some villager houses. So for this first house, I want to try and make something unique for the masons, and then we'll bring some dark oak up through here. And maybe some walls in between for depth. Yeah, that looks unique. So then we'll just repeat this down this side. And we can make a nice big door with an arching type roof over the top. And then we can put in our trapdoors. Yep, that's looking good. So now repeat on the other side. And might change it up a bit here. Just trying to give it all an interesting shape. So I finished it off by putting on a roof and a second story with some birch wood. And there we have the first house. And now we can put some villagers inside. So one by one, the villagers went up to the house. So now I want to build a small house opposite this one. And we can use some dark oak wood. Bring this corner out a little bit. And fill in the walls with spruce. Chuck in our doors. And trapdoors above. And I want to try to build a different roof, put some fences around, bring these stairs across, and bring this out one. I think I like that. So now just bring this across, and on the other side, fill in the middle, and slabs over. Yep, this is a cool looking roof. And now just finish the roof off. All done. Except we still need glass. Alright, so now we'll just bring down our 2 converted villages and they can live in here for the meantime. Alright boys, you're coming home. So now we've got easy access to our librarian, which is great because we've got an unlimited emerald trade. We take his bookshelf, break it, get 3 books and get 3 emeralds. Allow me to demonstrate. So we buy the bookshelves, break them all, and then make him buy the books back from us. So this guy is essentially paying us to break his bookshelves for him, which is pretty good. And so with our emeralds, we can level up some of our masons. And we might also just quickly light this place up so that we don't lose any of our villagers. Alright, so we now have all of our mason villagers in, and we've got them all up to the journeyman level, so they all have some sort of stone that they can give to us. With that in mind, we can move on to our next build, which I'm going to need some bricks and diorite for. So we'll get some diorite, and then we'll also grab some of the brick we had to trade to level those guys up, and some spruce as well. So this next building is going to be a farmhouse on the outskirts of the town, and I'm thinking that it's not going to be too big, just something like this with diorite and brick. And I kind of want to have like a curved shape, almost like a barn. So we'll just bring this up a little bit and then start to arch it out and then slowly bring it up into something like that, and then just copy that on the other side. And yeah, I reckon I like that shape. So I guess we'll just continue that down the building, leaving in some space for some trapdoor windows. So I continued the shape down the building with our brick and diorite and added a skillion to the side. Okay, so now we have the farmhouse complete. We've got some animals in the side bit, and then in here we've got our horses and a villager to keep control of everything. But I've also thought, what's a farm without crops? So we're going to plant a wheat field out to the side here. So it's going to be a little bit of a work in progress until we get this field filled in, but there's the farmhouse ticked off. And I've also discovered that most of this island is actually in a flower forest, so we can put around a couple of tulips. So before we move on to the next build, I want to give this pathway a bit more life than just the grey that we've used up in the starting area. So turning our bricks into slabs, start by just replacing all of these with these. Alright, so this is a nice start, but next I just want to take this path all the way around the center of this town. So next I think I want to use some polished andesite, and we'll turn these all into stairs. And so we'll have the grass continuing through on this side, and then I just want to put these stairs in facing inwards just like this. And then we'll just go around and fill all these stairs up with water. And so the last thing I want to do is just put in some polished andesite around the edge like this. And so there we go. I'm pretty happy with that. So we really need a way to be able to get some more emeralds. So this next build is going to house our toolsmiths, weaponsmiths and armorers so that we can trade some iron for some emeralds. So we just need some bricks and andesite, some jungle wood, and some birch. Getting straight into this build, I decided to go for a diagonal shaped building with some warmer toned blocks before adding in all of our villagers. And so now we've got the armory complete with all of our villager friends inside, and all of them have been leveled up to master simply because they buy iron from us. I do actually want to give every villager a name, so if you could leave some name suggestions in the comments and I'll use a few in the next video. And so with the emeralds that we've earned ourselves, we can upgrade to full diamond armor. I've recently also realized that this dripstone farm isn't going to work at all. We actually need to replace the basalt underneath the pointed dripstone with dripstone blocks. And so hopefully now we'll see some growth. Moving on to the next build, we're going to set up a house for some clerics. So this one's going to be pretty simple. We can use some of the birch we've already gathered and some of the bricks. We'll also need a few stone bricks and some of our spruce. And then we need to chop down some more birch. Got ourselves a wither skull. Make that 2 wither skulls as we're getting some blaze rods. Alright, now let's get into this next build. As you can probably tell, I'm going a bit delirious from the size of this project. But here we are building a nice birch house for our clerics. And oh, what's that? Another build? Yes, that's right. We've got another build making a nice little tavern. And so a little bit later, we've now detailed both of the builds. So we've got all of our clerics in here with a couple of cartographers. And once again, I want to name all these villages, so leave some suggestions in the comments. And then we've got a nice cozy little tavern over here with what I thought was a pretty cool floor. Although it better be pretty cool because this flooring cost me all my diamond armor. Yeah, I accidentally fell into the void while I was doing this. And because we now have redstone, I have rigged up a little minecart system that brings our villagers up for us. So I want to build one more building, which I'm going to put over here, and it's going to be for the librarians. Unfortunately for me though, I've decided I want to make it out of mud, which means we're going to have to use the dirt that we have and also convert some more stone into dirt, and then also harvest a bunch of wheat. So let's get started, I guess. So we'll start off by converting all of our stone. So we've got to tick off the first task by getting stone, moss, podzol, dirt, repeat. And now we get the pleasure of placing all the dirt down and turning it into mud. I just failed a water bucket clutch off this, but dang, that's a big pillar of dirt. Gonna bring in the big guns for this. So we'll just fill these all up and turn all of these into mud. And this is going to take a really long time, I think, but at least we can insta-mine it. And insta-mine it we did. Tackling this task head on, that mud stood no chance. Well, that was considerably painful, but we've got all the mud. So now we can just try and get enough wheat. But a lot of this is just going to be spamming bone meal. Okay, so we now have enough packed mud, and then we'll also take some of our spruce and some dark oak and some jungle wood. And after grabbing a few things from some villagers, we can get started. And so I started building this big library to house all of our librarians for enchanting trades, putting in a nice roofline with a skylight and a clock tower, before going back inside and finishing the interior. Alright, so now with the build done, we can start to put in some of our villagers. Sometime later, we now have every single enchantment book trade with librarian going all the way around the library. And just to show how long I was doing that for, I broke 700 lecterns. And so now it's really starting to look like a village in here. Although I do have one more structure that I want to build, being my house up on this hill over here. So for this build, we're going to need a fair bit of spruce, as much brick as we have, and then some glass panes, some granite, jungle wood, some more dark oak, some stone bricks, some diorite, and some glass. Getting straight into our final build for this episode, we started on the first floor, and then up. We did the second floor, and then guess what? We did the roof. Although we did run out of bricks and had to get some more. And here we have it, the final building. Got it mostly detailed on the inside, just a nice cozy interior with lots of storage space. Coming up the stairs to a nice bed, some armor stands for some future displays, and a fancy little glass chandelier. And then up in the attic, we have even more storage space. So I can finally tidy up my storage, which has been a bit of a mess so far. So now that we have the nicest XP level number, we can do some tidying up. So now we can just let loose a few villagers. Unfortunately, because we've used barrels as a decoration block everywhere, it looks like we're going to have a village full of fishermen. I'm sure we'll be able to figure out some lore to make that make sense, but for the last item on the to-do list, we can go and add some greenery, custom trees, and fields around the island. And that's exactly what I did, putting in some nice custom cherry trees here, then moving on to a small tulip garden, and expanding our farming fields to the front. And so there we have it, our village in the sky. Have some nice cinematic shots of the island. Don't shaders make everything look so pretty? Yeah, I think so too. That's exactly why I decided to show the builds with shaders. Thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.